Yes. Back in the studio. You're here, right here, 6 o'clock p.m. on Wednesday, September 20th, 2023. It's Mild's Culture Plate. We're doing it live. Fuck it, we'll do it live. All right. So, yeah, we are live on Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, or X, I guess you call it. My chair's got a little error to it. So yeah, we're back. We are back. Oh Lord, I forgot my light. Look at me. I do one stream away from the office, and I forget my light. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Miles Culture Plate. We have an interesting double-length show for you today. I'm going to try my best to go 2 full hours without having to run to the toilet. We'll probably fail at that. As always, say hello in the chat. If you want a toast from me, if you want a shout out from me, I'm drinking the Wolcott Bottled in Bond Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. And I don't have whiskey stones. I didn't have any in the freezer the whole time I was in Nashville. I had forgotten to put my whiskey stones back in the freezer, folks. So I'm going to be drinking it warm today. Blah, blah, blah. I've also, because I don't really love the Wolcott as much as I do some of the other whiskeys I drink on this stream. I do also have a little cup of water here. Anyway, so yeah, if anyone's out there, please say hello in the chat. We'll definitely get things going. We've got a whole gamut of people who are being canceled. And before you ask, I'm not going to be going super, super deep into the Russell Brand stuff. Over the past 3 days, the Russell Brand situation has been pretty much beat to death by every single person on every single social media and streaming platform. I might give some brief thoughts on it later in the show, way later in the show. I do want to give a shout out to a certain troll in Nick Ricada's locals chat who, is a little critical of me at times and specifically requested me not to cover the Russell Brand stuff and had asked me to cover a different topic instead. I don't have a whole lot of thoughts about the other topic, but I did come across an interesting video today that I think makes it at least time-wise relevant. So we will be covering immigration in Europe for a few moments anyway. Another thing that happened is, I guess, there was a House hearing in which they were able to ask questions from Attorney General Merrick Garland. I did manage to snatch 2 of the more viral videos from that hearing. We're going to be looking at that. But for the most part, I do want to give a few more thoughts about Lauren Boebert, maybe. But sort of the bigger cancellation, the more sudden cancellation, the kind of the thing that has really erupted in the last 24 hours is the Tim Ballard cancellation. These Me Too allegations against Tim Ballard. So we'll be looking into that a little bit. We also have a couple of more viral videos, a couple of more, interesting clips that we will analyze. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up the first one here in a minute. I actually had yet another topic in addition to all those things. I had another topic that I wanted to talk about. There was a viral video going around and a news story about a football fan in Miami, or no, it was in Boston, in the Patriots, a New England Patriots fan who was attacked by a Miami fan and wound up dead. But upon further investigation into that story this afternoon, because I saw it late last night, early this morning, and this afternoon when I went to bring the story up, I realized they're now reporting that the other fan was not responsible for the death, and the death was not trauma related. So who knows? Who knows, folks? We I only report what I can read, and to me, the fact that it was a fight that the death was involved in, I felt was an interesting story, and allowed me to talk a little bit about sportsmanship. But if it was just a fight and the guy died from other more natural, probably not natural, but more natural type causes, he was not murdered. I guess I don't really have a whole lot of preaching to do on that subject. But anyway, so I'm gonna bring up this other video out of Ireland. And of course, I always forget how to do this on StreamYard. Is that going to come straight up? Yep, it is. Okay, well, I should have just went full screen on it then. Okay, so this is a video out of Ireland via Virgin News, right? So let's watch this news report and figure out what's going on with this giant hole in the ground over here in Ireland.
It's a huge, mysterious crater that looks out of this world. But is it? The unusual hole on Portmarnock Beach stopped local astrophysics enthusiast Dave Kennedy in his tracks yesterday, and he's certain the small but heavy rock inside it came from up above.
As you can tell by here, there's a scorch mark on this side here, so that would have been at the angle that it came down at. And it is weighty. I'm not sure if it's composition, but we're definitely going to have to find out.
The striking...
Okay, so here we are. We're at a time in our culture where we're being told, all of these things about space. We're being told we're being visited by aliens. We have, interesting unidentified craft floating around. And so, here we are. We're on this beach in Ireland, and there's this giant hole in the ground, obviously made by this rock with this very smooth surface that burned up in the atmosphere. This guy is
hole soon caught the attention of passers-by. Many
very interested in analyzing
the
this
aftermath of a once-in-a-lifetime cosmic event.
I live on the beach in Nova Scotia in Canada, and I gotta tell you, I don't have meteorites landing on my beach at my house. So,
Oh man, see, imagine you're going on vacation, you decide to visit the beach in another country, and all of a sudden you come across this massive hole in the ground, and this scientist talking about how, this was created by this meteor. Man, how exciting would that be?
Thank you for a great experience once again, Ireland.
Is it a surprise? What do you make of it?
Wow, I mean, look at the size of it.
So we're down here quite a lot, and I've never seen anything like this before, so it's pretty spectacular.
There has been no confirmation that this is the site of a meteor strike, but Dave is optimistic.
And only about a month ago, I was watching a documentary from NASA on exactly what you're looking at behind you. So when I looked at it and saw how uniform it is and the blast crater, I knew immediately that I was looking at it as an impact
obviously.
site.
Dave has spent the day reaching out to astronomy experts to see if they can help him solve the mystery of the crater on the beach. The next step is to get this rock tested, see what it's made of, and see if this can be confirmed as a meteor strike in Dublin. Hannah Murphy, Virgin Media News on Portmarnock Beach.
Okay, so again, you're walking the beach, you're a scientist. So I guess we're gonna have to wait now to see exactly what this thing's made out of. We're gonna have to wait and see some kind of analysis to determine, um, what parts of space this came from, what this thing might be made out of. You know, because anything that would leave that massive of a hole in the beach must be completely out of this world, as we see here.
Thanks, Bernard. Now, finally, for now, mysterious.
All right, you saw it. You saw it. These guys, they dug the hole. These guys dug the hole. And Virgin Media in Ireland reported this as a fucking meteor strike. So I'm sorry. I had to start with something at least that that was a little more lighthearted. I'm about to let's examine another sort of more lighthearted video. Let's see what this woman has to complain about. Japanese gym etiquette.
If you are coming to Japan and planning on going to the gym, let me just warn you, do not wear a matching set. Do not wear a cute little outfit like this. I know that we all love them. I feel so super cute right now. But if
Okay, now wait, what? Okay.
I wear something like this to the gym, Japanese people literally treat me like I have whore written on my forehead. Like they.
Okay. I mean, look, it is super tight. If your camera wasn't such crap, I could probably read like your razor burn on your camel toe. It's that tight. I mean, I'm not trying to slut shame you, and you're the one bringing up they look at me like a whore, right? But you make these decisions anyway. Let's continue to watch to see where this complaint is going.
They stop and they look at me and they're like, what the fuck? Like, I've forgotten to get dressed. This is how I dress now. Now that I've been living here for a year, when I go to the gym, this is how I dress, like all the other Japanese people. I'm not fucking kidding you. This is the vibe. This is the vibe. Okay?
Okay. Well, yeah. I like it. You got a little baggy shirt. Here's the thing. Here's the thing I don't understand. When I work out, I don't care if my clothes are tight. I don't care if they're baggy. In fact, I kind of like baggy. It gives more room for my boy eggs to jiggle around, right? I don't know. I don't see the necessity for every workout to be super tight clothes, to be yoga pants where your ass cheek folds like you could literally. I mean, it's practically naked. Now, I don't think her previous outfit was all that bad. I don't agree. But I also don't think this outfit is all that bad. I don't understand the problem. Cheers to everybody in the chat. All right, let's see her finish her complaint here.
The pants with the leggings on underneath. This is the look that we go for. Okay? I couldn't feel less hot.
Okay, whoa. I couldn't feel less hot. You had me until that fucking point. Why do you need to feel hot at the gym? Why do you need to feel hot at the gym? Cheers to Bush McFadden in the chat. Welcome. He says practically naked was what I heard. Yeah, practically naked, but again, not naked. She was not naked. She looked okay. But why does she need to look hot? I couldn't feel less like working out than in this. Then you're working out for the wrong fucking reasons.
I feel less like working out than in this. But if I wear the other thing, then people literally stop what they're doing and look at me.
Okay. And Boosh McFadden in the chat just called it. Sanglin86, cheers, brother. Hot yoga confused her for life. True. But yes, it's again, I've done previous shows where I've talked about provocative clothing. The key root of provocative is provoke. You're wearing those clothes out to engage a reaction from people. And when it's the wrong people or the wrong reaction, you complain. But it's literally you that's doing this.
So this is the vibe. So if you come to Japan, just be prepared.
I mean, most people are prepared. I mean, they don't go to Japan. Let me rephrase. The ones that go to Japan to show ass are prepared for that. The ones that go to Japan and want to work out in the gym, it is what it is. But why do you feel the need to look hot? Well, because you want to provoke a response. You just, oh, excuse me, don't care much for the response you got. Okay, so, yeah, Boosh McFadden, I'm wearing it for me. Yeah. Obviously not. Okay, so let's quickly address this this issue that was brought up by someone in the chat as a topic I should cover tonight. Every single Western nation is experiencing some level of undocumented, illegal migration to their nations. And there are definitely a lot of videos out there. There were a few of them. There were a few of them that were reports on what's going on right now at the United States southern border. I believe I saw a video where the Governor Abbott of Texas had installed razor wire at the border, and the Biden administration had sent officials to cut the razor wire out, and Governor Abbott said he is now sending more state police to the border to not only patrol the border, but to reinstall the razor wire. So keep an eye on that, if you will. I wish I would have brought that tweet up, but there are other tweets. Here, let me... out of Eagle Pass, Bill Melugan on Twitter. Let me go ahead and bring this up here. Bill Melugan on Twitter has a lot of interesting investigations from the border. But that's the United States. That's the United States. And what I was specifically asked about was Europe, though. And there was an interesting video out of Europe. And the report is that in the past 24 hours, 20 more boats have arrived, total of over 18,000. More boats are underway towards Lampedusa, Italy. Total population of the island is 6,000 and is now outnumbered by 3-1. Areas of the island are now blocked off and controlled by various ethnic groups. The UN and European Union want to resettle them on the mainland. Why not send them back to their home countries? This was from Wall Street Silver on X. Oh, and I forgot to present that while I was reading it. Here we go. Yeah, and so we'll go ahead and watch this video and see this mass migration into Italy. Whoa, that was super loud. I am sorry about the loudness of that. In fact, let's just kill the music and watch all of these people, just a sea of humanity in this video Oh, look, people in a fist fight at the bottom. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. So yeah, on an island, the island of Lampedusa, we have 3-1. And yeah, just like the United States, where the Biden administration has no plan for what to do about our mass migration, and New York is trying to fight it, but even the governor of New York doesn't have a real response. You know, we just kind of have to accept it as a reality within our life that we are now being invaded. Um, I don't know what else to say. You know, I was asked to cover this specifically by someone in Ricada's chat, someone who likes to troll Ricada's chat. And, you know, I love the people in there, even the trolls. And look, man, they're going to say, the far left are going to say, hey, they're asylum seekers. And as much as we can call bullshit, there's not a whole lot we can do. You know, Governor Abbott in Texas is doing what he can. You know, there are other governors trying to do what they can. You know, there was the whole hilarity of Florida trying to send theirs to the gated communities in Massachusetts. But in reality, this is what's happening. And it's happening all across Europe, not just in Italy, but also in Germany, in the UK. And, you know, on the one hand, white Westerners want to be very cordial and neighbor like to people who allegedly are fleeing and looking for asylum. But let's face it, these aren't families. A lot of these people in these videos, they're young men of fighting age. They're not fathers, they're not parents. A lot of them are carrying cell phones. These aren't people who need asylum. These are people who are relocating for an economic advantage in the world and leaving countries where they may not have an economic advantage in the world. The problem is, to me, the biggest problem is a lot of these people come from cultures that aren't as welcoming as the people in the culture they are fleeing to. And so the idea of multiculturalism it seems noble to a bunch of white liberals, but in all actuality, those cultures would not be as welcoming of you. And if you allow them to come here, gain political foothold, gain cultural foothold, you white liberals will probably be the first people to be stabbed or pushed out or attacked, you know. Sorry, I've already had a bit of whiskey. I'm a little loopy. I'm not going to lie, I am a little loopy. It could possibly be I had a radical change in diet today. Let me take a step back, folks, and stop talking about the news stories real quick and just address something on a personal note. I know that a lot of my followers or people who watch me have come from Nick Ricada's chat or whatever, and I got to meet a whole lot of people in Nashville this weekend. How do I say this? One of the funny things about Nick Ricada is his gimmick. One of the best gimmicks Nick Ricada does is the fat shaming. And for a long time, I've needed to address my weight issues. I am definitely someone who has had an interesting relationship with food, an interesting relationship with soda pop. But over the past couple of weeks, there have been certain incidents in my life that has made me realize I am at a critical juncture regarding being seriously overweight. As such, I have made some radical changes to my diet in the last few days. So this morning, I did not eat breakfast. I did not drink any caffeine at all today. And so, again, when I say I'm a little loopy, understand that my normal routines and the normal chemicals in which I consume on a daily basis to keep me wide awake and vibrant and happy, I'm trying to cut back on. I've made huge strides in the past few years to consume a lot less sugar. That has not been enough, and I did not really recognize that it had not been enough. I need to minimize, if not eliminate, some serious issues from my diet. No, I'm not diabetic. There have been other issues that have raised some pretty serious concerns. Thank you for, if you're out there, wishing me well. But yeah, the Nashville event was a huge thing for me, because even though I recently went out and bought a bunch of new clothes at a very expensive price tag, I still felt like I was bigger than my clothes, right? I felt like I was, my clothes were a little, making me look not flattering, especially at the Rekieta event. I wanted to look as classy as I could. I was one of the only people, Andrew Bronca, myself, and one other person. We were the only three wearing a tie. So that'll tell you. I wanted to look classy. I wanted to look dressed up, and I feel, upon looking at some photographs from that night, that yeah, my weight may have been a bigger issue, and there are some other issues in my life right now because of it. But anyway, so I'm sorry to go off on that little tangent. I'm not looking for people to say, "Oh, you're pretty." I'm not looking for support. I just wanted to throw that out there, because definitely I'm feeling a little drunk, and I don't know if that's just because I haven't had enough caffeine today or what. So let's get into a couple of the more important topics of the day. Why don't we? Because that's what we are supposed to be doing here. From CNN, United States households will be able to order free COVID-19 tests starting Monday. Folks, it's coming. They're seriously trying this shit again. Seriously trying this shit again. Bush McFadden in the chat. Have a good day at work, sir. Man, thank you for stopping by. Anyway, so CNN, the U.S. government will relaunch a program to provide free COVID-19 home tests to Americans, the Department of Health and Human Services said Wednesday. We will once again begin our program to provide Americans with an opportunity to request tests. Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra said during an event at a Washington CVS pharmacy where he was vaccinated against COVID-19 and the flu. Okay, I need to do something. There's something I need to do, and look, this might get me banned from YouTube. I hope not. But there's a question I have to ask. There's a narrative, and I don't know if I've recently done this, but it's been bugging me right here, where he was vaccinated against COVID-19 and flu. So in 2019, when this virus first broke, we were told it was called the coronavirus. The coronavirus. And people had found the back of cans of Lysol. You know, coronavirus is a virus that has been around for a long time. And from what I understand, the common cold is a form of the coronavirus. And that the coronavirus has been a practical household illness for a very long time. When this variant, and again, I don't know that I'm using the right term when I say variant, when this particular strain, variant, whatever you want to call it, when this outbreak happened at the beginning of 2020, really the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, when this outbreak happened, we were told that this is a coronavirus, but this virus had a specific name. Coronavirus ID 19. COVID 19. So the word the phrase COVID-19 was a designation of this coronavirus that had just happened to have an outbreak around the world in late 2019 and early 2020. And since then, we've heard about the Delta, the Omicron virus, their variant, all of these variants. And now here we are a few years later. Is this still a coronavirus? When did we stop using the word corona? And why? When this says that the Health and Human Service Secretary was vaccinated against COVID-19, is that supposed to be something different than a yearly outbreak of corona? Is this not COVID-23 now? Have we not seen enough variants? I mean, I don't get it. And perhaps, look, I'm not a virologist, but I'm not hearing these questions being asked and answered by virologists. I'm not hearing them being asked and answered by the media. Why are we still calling this thing COVID-19? Is this still the virus? I mean, is this still the same strain of viruses that was released in 2019, 2020? I just wish someone somewhere would ask one of the experts this question. I don't get the difference between strains and variants and whether or not this thing is still a coronavirus. Am I going crazy? Am I being gaslit? Are they the same thing? Are they interchanging the word COVID for the word coronavirus because they don't want us to realize that the coronavirus is the common cold? There was a news story last week that was like, oh yeah, the coronavirus, or the COVID-19 rather. COVID, the new strain of COVID is practically indistinguishable from the common cold. Well, because they're both just coronavirus, right? I mean, I'm asking the question, please, YouTube, I'm not making any claims about this virus. I just want to know. Will someone please tell me, are they using the term coronavirus interchangeable with the word COVID-19? But because COVID-19 didn't have a mild history prior to 2019, that word wasn't associated with anything mild previous to that. And, you know, forgive me for using the word mild. Love that word. Is that why they're using it? Because they can make us react more to COVID than coronavirus? Anyway, the program was suspended in May after the end of the COVID-19 public health emergency to preserve supply. Becerra and HHS's Administration for Strategic Preparedness and Response has been resupplying our stockpile. Well, surely, yeah, we just need a stockpile of disposable plastic tests, right? Anyway, so the last paragraph here, COVID-19 hospitalizations have been on the rise in the United States since July, with weekly admissions now more than triple what they were 2 months ago. More than 20,500 people were in the U.S. were admitted to the hospital with COVID-19 during the week ending September 9th, according to data from U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. CNN's Deidre McPhillips contributed this report. So notice the with, not because of. All right. Wow. So yeah, here we are. We still have the COOF virus still making the news all the time, even though it's 2023 and we had news reports. And I should bring them up because we are on YouTube. And again, I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube for violating their medical misinformation policy. And now I'm not going to be able to find it. Distinguishable. That's what I need to find. Oh, come on. What happened to the... What happened to the news article? Oh, dear Lord. Now I can't find it. Well, then, okay. So, yeah, now because I can't find whatever said that the COVID virus was becoming indistinguishable, fair enough. Maybe it's incorrect. Maybe it never existed. Maybe I'm just pigeonholed. I don't know. That upsets me that I can't find that article because I know it was there. I know it was a major news outlet who stated that, but fair enough. If I can't find it, then I will retract my statement that, COVID was indistinguishable from the common cold. I will retract that statement. Okay, so let's go to the House of Representatives. Let's go to the House of Representatives. Now here's Jim Jordan asking questions of Attorney General Merrick Garland. Let's check this out here.
The fix is in. Even with the face-saving indictment last week of Hunter Biden, everyone knows the fix is in. 4.5 years. 4.5 years, the Department of Justice has been investigating Mr. Biden, an investigation run by David Weiss, an investigation that limited the number of witnesses agents could interview.
What are you going to do about it? I just kind of had a show like this where I watched a bunch of these videos of these congressmen blowing hard. What are you going to do about it? You're going to defund? You're going to defund the FBI? You're going to rein in the Attorney General's office? What are you going to do about it?
Investigation that prohibited agents from referring to the president as the, quote, big guy in any of the interviews they did get to do. An investigation that curtailed attempts to interview Mr. Biden by giving the transit team secret a heads up. An investigation that notified Mr. Biden's defense counsel about a pending search warrant. An investigation run by Mr. Weiss, where they told the Congress 3 different stories in 33 days. They told this committee on June 7th, David Weiss said, I have ultimate authority to determine when, where, and whether to bring charges. 23 days later, June 30th, he told this committee, actually, I can only bring charges in my U.S. Attorney's District, the District of Delaware.
Huh. Imagine that.
And then to further confuse matters, on July 10th, He told Senator Graham, I have not sought special counsel status. Rather, I've had discussions with the Department of Justice. An investigation run by Mr. Weiss that negotiated a plea deal.
So if
that
he
the
lied
Federal
to
District Court
Congress,
declined to accept. A plea deal so ridiculous, the judge asked this question, quote, is there any precedence for agreeing not to prosecute crimes that have nothing to do with the charges being diverted? The response from the DOJ lawyer, I'm not aware of any, Your Honor.
okay, so again, they offered him this blanket deal for blanket immunity from anything past, present, or future. And the judge was like, fuck no.
A plea deal so ridiculous that the judge also asked, have you ever seen a diversion agreement where the agreement not to prosecute was so broad that it encompasses crimes in a different case? The response from the DOJ lawyer, no, Your Honor, we haven't. An investigation run by Mr. Weiss that not only had a sweetheart deal rejected, but according to the New York Times, there was an even sweeter deal, an earlier deal, a deal in which Mr. Biden would not have to plead guilty to anything.
Yeah.
4.5 years and all that, and now we get a special counsel. Now we get a special counsel, and who does the Attorney General pick? David Weiss, the guy who let all that happen.
Yep.
He could have selected anyone. He could have picked anyone inside government, outside government. He could have picked former attorney generals,
But what are you
former
gonna do
special
about it?
counsels.
You're just a
but he
congressman.
picks the one guy he knows will protect Joe Biden. He picks David Weiss. And here's what the AG said in his August 11th announcement of David Weiss as the special counsel. Quote, I am confident that Mr. Weiss will carry out his responsibility in an even-handed and urgent manner. Urgent manner? Every witness we've talked to, the 2 FBI whistleblowers that came forward, Mr. Shapley, Mr. Ziegler, the 2 FBI agents on the case, Mr. Sobosinski, Ms. Hawley, they've all said this thing was anything but urgent. The FBI said they were frustrated at the pace. Ms. Hawley said she was frustrated at the pace. And of course, the IRS agents, they said the investigation was slow-walked. And even-handed, they limited the number of witnesses that could be interviewed. They tipped off the defense counsel about a subpoena. The judge says the plea deal was a joke. And all that's just half the story. There's one investigation protecting President Biden. There's another one attacking President Trump. Justice Department's got both sides of the equation covered. Look at the classified documents case. Spring and early summer of last year, the Department of Justice asked President Trump to turn over boxes of documents. He does just that. In the process, President Trump finds 38 additional documents. He tells the Department of Justice, very next day, the FBI comes to his home and he turns them over. Then the Department of Justice asked the president to put 80 boxes he brought from the White House to his home in his storage room and secure it by locking it.
Oh, I guess that was,
he does that as well.
I guess that was later.
Everything they asked him to do, he did. And then what's the Justice Department do? August 8th, last year, they raid President Trump's home. And according to the FBI agent, Stephen D'Antuono, the assistant director in charge of the Washington field office, the search was a complete departure from standard protocol. When we interviewed Mr. D'Antuono, he said, first, the Miami field office didn't do the search. Instead, they sent folks from D.C. He said there was no U.S. attorney assigned to the case. Instead, it was run by D.C., in particular Jay Bratt.
I mean, we've covered all this before on the show, really.
He said the FBI didn't get President Trump's counsel's approval before they did the search.
Trump. It's all about Trump.
Mr. D'Antuono told us he had recommended that when the FBI got to Mr.
We've got
Trump's
a minute and a half left of this.
Trump's home, they contact his counsel, wait for him to get there and do the search together. Of course, the DOJ said no. And then who does the Attorney General name as special counsel in that?
See, what pisses me off about this, Jim Jordan, I'm talking directly to you, Jim Jordan. What pisses me off about this is I give no fucks about Donald Trump. Yes, I believe the prosecutions of Donald Trump are politically motivated, and it's a travesty, and it shouldn't be happening. But while you're putting Donald Trump on a pedestal as an example of what the DOJ should not be doing, we have several people right now on trial for their lives or sitting in jail or in solitary. We have so many people that have been convicted on bogus charges for January 6th, who have been prosecuted to the fullest extent, who've been fast-tracked or slow-walked, depending on... You fast-tracked to jail, but then slow-walked to the courthouse, slow-walked through the investigation, depending on what the DOJ wanted to make an example out of. We have lots of Americans who are seeking justice, but your focus is on what the DOJ has done to Donald J. Trump, a billionaire who, for all intents and purposes, can sort of defend himself in certain ways, right? But I guess that's why he has the Republican Party.
That case, Jack Smith, the guy who a few years ago was looking for ways to prosecute Americans, targeted by Lois Lerner and the IRS, looking to prosecute the very victims of the weaponized government, the weaponized IRS. Jack Smith, the guy who prosecuted Governor McDonald, only to have the Supreme Court overturn that prosecution in a unanimous decision. That's the guy that the Attorney General of the United States selects as special counsel. And you wonder why 4 out of 5 Americans believe there are now 2 standards of justice in our great country.
Yeah, the January 6th standards.
Mr. Garland, I anticipate a number of
3
questions
standards
on these.
See, and I've argued that on my show before. There are 3 standards. There's the Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani standard, where you get a lawyer, right? You get a lawyer and you fight them, and if you have to turn yourself in, it's just this simple: take a mugshot and then go on about your business, right? There's that standard. And then there's all these January 6th defendants who, again, are locked up and have the key thrown away, and they might see a court date if they get charges. Excuse me.
Later in the hearing, I expect from Republicans.
And then the third, obviously, is the Hunter Biden standard, where you just get away with murder, otherwise known as the Chris Chan standard, where you get away with incest.
You will also get questions about the many other concerns the American people have with the department. The school board's memorandum, treating Catholics, a memo that said pro-life Catholics are extremists. The Fifth Circuit decision, great decision, on the Department of Justice and other agencies censoring American speech. And of course, the FISA law that's up for reauthorization this year, and how that process has been abused and infringed on the rights, privacy rights of the American people.
What are you going to do about it?
Americans believe that today in our country, there is unequal application of the law. They believe that because there is. Republicans are committed to making that,
and of course,
that change. With that, I would yield to the gentleman from New York.
Of course, Mr. Jordan on his own Twitter did not include the video of the response from the Attorney General. But we have one more video I want to bring up, and again, this one's a little more interesting because this one seems a little more personal. Representative Victoria Spartz from Indiana's 5th Congressional District shared this video of herself also interviewing Attorney General Garland. And, he interjects a couple of times in this, and we'll hear a couple of interesting exchanges. But, her words to me were way more powerful than Congressman Jordan here. He dodged really to me the most important factor, the most important problem. I mean, he gave it a brief mention, but come on.
Attorney General, you had a very moving
and of course now we're going to have lag.
Statement about your grandparents coming here from Belarus to live in the country
Okay, here we go. Let me see if we can get this sped up. Let me close a couple of these other tabs. Close some of the other gunk running on my computer. All right. Okay, let's try this again.
Without fear of prosecution. I grew up in very similar country, Ukraine now, and when I came here as a young person, I believed in the value as an American not to be a
Okay, so first off, I wasn't aware we had Ukrainians in our Congress. Victoria Spartz wasn't aware that Indiana had elected this person to Congress. This is the first I'm hearing of her. This is interesting.
afraid of my government. But I wanted to tell you, and I want to share with you and get your thoughts on that. Are you aware that a lot of Americans are now afraid of being prosecuted by your department? Are you aware about that? Are you aware of that? I'm just saying, are you aware or not?
I think that constant attacks on the department and saying
No, it's
that
not attacks. Well, let me give you an example.
Constant attacks on the department. Where do I begin? Where do I begin? You're literally the feds. You are literally the feds. Every meme ever created about feds is you. Is you. And when people say, "Oh, you're aggressive, you're this, you're that," you are. That is literally you. So you're worried about people attacking you. People attacking your department with propaganda or whatever. Like, no. You are literally the one who attacks the freedom of Americans. You are literally the treading on me in the "don't tread on me" flag. You are the boot on the snake.
Example.
I don't
We
know
talk about January 6th.
Here we go. Thank
Some
you.
people came on January
Thank
6th. There
you.
probably were some people that came on January 6th here, that had bad intent, but a lot of good Americans.
Some were very fine people. She very fine people. And you know what? Rightfully fucking so. And when Trump said it, rightfully fucking so. And the fact that the media slammed him for that, and Republicans everywhere, conservatives everywhere didn't rise up and say, but wait a minute. Not everyone in the city of Charlottesville that day was a Nazi. The fact that people did not stand up for that comment, the fact that there were some decent people who just happened to be there when Antifa attacked conservatives the day after some white supremacists walked with tiki torches, makes you think. But anyway, so now she's saying very fine people on both sides, right? There were good people and bad people.
From my district came here because they are sick and tired of this government not serving them. They came with strollers and the kids, and there was chaotic situation because the proper security wasn't provided. That's
Yes. Call out the fact that there was a stand down with security that day. Man, look, say what you want about anything going on right now with Ukraine and Russia, whatever. This woman is, to me, saying some of the right things to Attorney General Garland right in this moment. Now, I don't know if she can be trusted or not. I know nothing about this woman, but she's saying the right things right now.
a question that was answered really why. Why we debated for 45 minutes on the floor and didn't stop the debate after the people broke into the Capitol. But these people came, they were throwing the smoke bombs into the crowd with strollers with kids. People.
Oh, sorry. I missed Shut Up I Can Cook over on YouTube about 10 minutes ago. Cheers. Welcome. Sorry, I missed you. Good seeing you here. Thank you for stopping by.
People showed up, FBI agent to people's houses. You had in my district, in my town, FBI phone numbers all over the district. Please call that. People are truly afraid. I just want to make sure if you're not aware that you are. And this is a big problem when people are afraid of their own government. And I'll share some other things. We're talking about justice system. I don't question, you're probably not a bad person. I don't know you, but what I'll tell you, you're in charge of the department. And people right now feel, I look at Durham report and I called on the FISA violations of queries of millions of Americans, right? It's like KGB, but when I read Durham,
Your FISA is like KGB. I read the Durham report. Wow. FISA is like KGB. I fucking love this woman, at least in this moment.
You have a nice, playbook. First, let's have a special counsel, and then you don't have to answer any questions here. Then let's extend slow walk investigation on Hillary Clinton, on Hunter. Everything is slow walk. We were very quick on Donald Trump, but you were very slow walk. Then by the time, that investigation ends, statute of limitation expired, and all of your agents need to be tested for amnesia. No one recalls anything. Okay, you probably should have as part of your hiring policy. So no one held accountable, which was egregious what happened, in that report. When I read about them, I can't believe it happened in the United States of America. This is my frustration. I'll be honest with you. Then it's very interesting, regardless what it is, even people in Obama administration raise concerns. How can president's sons be serving on, corrupt Ukrainian oligarchs? Do you understand that it actually can undermine the one Ukrainian effort and policy? I think these concerns were raised. The Obama administration didn't do anything about it. These people are dying right now, and Americans don't trust this president. I want to ask you one thing. I don't need answer because I know you're not going to, but I think you're probably good American. And
Burisma called out, yo.
You care. And a lot of these people are so afraid they cover up this stuff, I think, in your department because they're embarrassed that what we became as a country to say that what our department of justice became. That allows Russians to do propaganda in Chinese. It allows them to destabilize our country.
It allows them to do Chinese. I think she means Chinese authoritarian forms of propaganda, but sure.
That is danger to our republic. It is significant danger. And I have just one more question from you. I agree on corporate crimes and FISA stuff, even with Democrats, that we need to do a better job. One more question for you. Do you believe that, you talk about rights to vote, but do you believe that only U.S. citizens should be voting in this election and doing anything to make sure that only eligible people vote in elections?
Yes, and yes.
Okay, I would like to see that, what you do. Thank you.
Okay, wow. So again, we don't really get to see a whole lot of follow-up there, but he said yes. He said yes, American citizens should be the only ones voting. And she said, we'll see. We'll see what your policy is on that. I mean, we know he's lying through his fucking teeth, right? We know he's lying through his fucking teeth. So let's go to the fucking... I'm going to move on here. So, again, shout out, cheers to Representative Sparts. Thank you for at least saying the things in public that needed to be said. Again, I'm not holding my breath on Republicans doing much about that. But let's move on. Let's move on to this greasy dirt rag known as Newsweek. Tim Ballard's sexual misconduct allegations. What we know. This was posted yesterday at 8:47 a.m. Now, again, we've just come out of several days of everyone debating every which way, inside and out, the allegations against Russell Brand. like I said, I'm only gonna cover the Russell Brand stuff a very little bit toward the end of the show. But again, yesterday morning, this comes out about Tim Ballard. Now, if you're not familiar with who Tim Ballard is someone who ran the well, here, let's just read the article because it'll say all this in here. Former Homeland Security Special Agent Tim Ballard, who was the inspiration for the hit movie Sound of Freedom, has been accused of sexual misconduct involving 7 women, Vice News has reported. According to the outlet, Ballard, who in 2013 set up his anti-child trafficking organization Operation Underground Railroad, invited women to act as his quote-unquote wife during undercover overseas missions to rescue trafficking victims. Citing sources, Vice News has reported that Ballard allegedly sent a photo of himself in his underwear to one woman, while he is accused of asking another how far she's willing to go to save children, insinuating that he's talking about his penis. Are you willing to touch my penis to save children? I don't think, I think that's a leap, right? They're not saying it, but that's what they're assuming, right? When they say this is a photo in his underwear to one woman and then accuse another woman how far she's willing to go. Look, how far are you willing to go to save children, Newsweek? Is that a sexual statement? Is this sexual harassment if I ask Newsweek how far they're willing to go? Who is this? Ryan Smith from Newsweek? How far are you willing to go to save children? Is that an invitation to touch my penis? I hope not, because I'm not inviting you to touch your penis. I'm literally asking what you're willing to do to save children. Newsweek contacted Ballard through Angel Studios, which is behind Sound of Freedom, via email for comment on Tuesday. Ballard's profile has notably risen in recent months following the release of Sound of Freedom, a dramatized version of his efforts that sees him portrayed by Jim Caviezel. It also appears that Ballard is now mulling a run for Senate. Last week, Vice News reported that Ballard has fallen out of favor with prominent leader in the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. According to Salt Lake City, per a statement from the church, ties have been severed over Ballard's morally unacceptable behavior. According to Salt Lake City Fox affiliate KSTU, Ballard responded to the church allegations while making a speech in Boston. "It's not true. Nothing you hear is true," he told the crowd. "This is breaking down my family like you can't believe." Responding to the sexual misconduct allegations, a spokesman for OUR told Newsweek, Tim resigned from OUR on June 22, 2023. He is permanently separated from OUR. OUR is dedicated to combating sexual abuse and does not tolerate sexual harassment or discrimination by anyone in its organization. OUR retained an independent law firm to conduct a comprehensive investigation of all relevant allegations, and OUR continues to assess and improve governance of the organization protocols for its operations. The statement continued, to preserve the integrity of the investigation and protect the privacy of all persons involved, OUR will not make any further public comment at this time. OUR is confident in its future as the leading organization committed to combating sex trafficking and saving children who have been captured and sold into slavery. Since his departure from OUR, Ballard is listed as senior advisor on rescue operations as its new anti-trafficking organization, the Spear Fund. Newsweek has contacted the Spear Fund for comment. OUR was subject of the Vice News investigation in 2020, which accused the group of conflating the truth of their missions. The report at the time made links to the success of OUR being aided by the rise of QAnon conspiracy theorists. Here we go. This is why I called Newsweek a rag. Because this is supposed to be an article about Tim Ballard. This is supposed to be an article about accusations against Tim Ballard. This whole let's dig into the history of every news article ever posted about OUR, when you know like 9/10 of the stories you report on Newsweek, like you're not going to give this much backstory on unless it's necessary. The Radical Conspiracy Theory Group previously asserted that former President Donald Trump would expose a secret cabal of high-profile satanic child abusers as president and then order their arrest and executions. Both Caviezel and Ballard have dismissed accusations that the film is trying to appeal to QAnon. Jesus. Because when you make a movie, you want a wide audience. You want everyone, not just freaking QAnon. What the hell? Meanwhile, Ballard, who served on an anti-trafficking White House advisory council during Trump's presidency, recently revealed that he's very seriously considering running for Mitt Romney's Utah Senate seat. Speaking with Sean Spicer, Ballard said he was asked several weeks ago by very influential people, quote unquote, to consider running for the seat, which Romney recently said he would vacate at the end of his term. Utah-based Ballard also said the success of Sound of Freedom and his subsequent fame have made it all but impossible for him to continue his undercover work. Making a move to the Senate is an attractive step. So, here's what I want you to see. Tim Ballard's sexual misconduct allegations, what we know. What we know. What we know. We know that he sent a picture of his underwear to one woman and asked another how far she's willing to go. Everything else in this article was nothing burger bullshit. Nothing burger bullshit. So, what does Tim Ballard have to say about it?
Hey guys, I'm in a very special place right now in Washington, D.C., the Soldier's Home, the Lincoln Cottage. Abraham Lincoln lived here during the summer months, and especially the summer of 1862 when he was writing the Emancipation Proclamation, which was very difficult. He was being lied about. He was having so much pressure upon him. Don't do it, his advisors told him, because the North may not accept it. He believed that if he did it, it would lead to the end of slavery.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not down with the whole worship of Abraham Lincoln. Like, Abraham Lincoln did a lot of shit wrong, acted like a tyrant in a lot of ways as a wartime president. And don't get me wrong, Civil War was bad, slavery was bad, shouldn't own humans, but the ways in which some of that went down went a little far for my personal taste. So I'm not down with all of this worshiping of Abraham Lincoln that some of these Republicans want to do, but let's go ahead and hear him out here.
So lots of pressure and having to make a decision. I currently am under fire with false allegations from sources that we have not been able to determine yet. I'm sure you've seen some of this in the press. And I want to read you the statement that the Spear Fund, an organization dedicated to rescuing children by partnering with multiple organizations around the world. We just made deals in Central America so that we can target those traffickers who are hurting children. They will soon be residents in the United States because they're trying to get...
You know, the pedophiles really don't like people who rescue children. And let me go ahead and pour a little bit more of this Wolcott Bottled in Bond Kentucky bourbon, because do you know Minter's in the chat? Cheers, brother. Welcome. Also had some agreements to make about Abraham Lincoln. Cheers.
Get them there. I testified about this at Congress last week. I called out the president for the policies that are causing this pain. And I also, at that moment, admitted that, yes, I am considering running for public office and determining whether I could fight the fight better there. It's not a coincidence that just within 3 days of that, all hell breaks loose in the press and false allegations are brought upon me.
Look, here's the thing. If I'm traveling the world rescuing children, and I'm not doing the quotes because I don't think it was rescuing children. If I'm traveling the world on these rescue missions, and I've got young ladies in the organization who want to see things up front, like the main allegation against Tim Ballard is that he's asked some of these women to pose as his wife in some of these third world countries. Yeah, no shit. Like, if they think you're the wife of this, semi-fit guy, right? You might be safer in some of these more dangerous environments if they think you're his wife. This idea that, oh, well, I just want to take you along to be my sexual plaything. I mean, oh, dear Lord.
And because of that, and because of the fact that, like Lincoln, who was in this house, I will not stop. I will not give up, no matter the pressures upon me, no matter the pain to me or to my family. Because of lies, I will not. And to that end, I'd like to read you this statement. Tim Ballard issues statement affirming commitment to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Okay, so wait a minute. This is the part where he starts to lose me, because first he says, I'm going to read this statement from the organization that I'm working with. And the organization's like, this is a statement of Tim Ballard. So he's quoting them as they're quoting him. So he's really just quoting himself. And he's essentially just reaffirming his commitment to the Mormon Church, who have since distanced themselves from him.
Salt Lake City, September 18th, 2023. The Spear Fund, an organization funding and collaborating with a coalition of experts, organizations, and concerned citizens from around the globe to end human trafficking in our time, is releasing a statement on behalf of Senior Advisor Tim Ballard. And the statement reads, rescuing kids and fighting child trafficking is an ugly and dark business, especially when, as the result of my work for more than 20 years.
See, and not only is he losing me with the quoting himself and the Mormon stuff, is like, even quoting himself, he's reading word for word from the phone. This doesn't seem as genuine to me. I think the video should have ended right before he started reading. Like, that was enough. Him saying, I'm committed. I want to maybe even give a statement about rejoining the church or something. But him saying, I'm committed. I want to run for office. I've done these things. And these allegations are false. Enough said. This whole, I'm going to read a statement from my phone. Meh.
Years, we continue to expose members of powerful, well-funded child trafficking cartels. Evil pedophiles, traffickers will stop at nothing, and they have allies. Allies in government, in the media, in big corporations, and even in public institutions.
Okay, well, I'm hoping the next thing he's going to do is somehow figure out how to take those pedophiles and make them somehow relevant. I mean, it sounds like that's what he's trying to do. Relevant to the fact that he's now being attacked by Newsweek and Vice News and some of these other organizations.
They continue to lie about me and attempt to destroy my good name, and they will never stop. I want everyone to know that I and our vast army of supporters will likewise never stop. We will keep fighting for the vulnerable all over the globe, and we know that the truth will always prevail. I am a faithful member in good standing in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I believe in Jesus Christ, the Holy Scriptures, and I believe in our faith with all of my heart. that, no matter what, will never change.
Okay, so yeah, Dino Mentor's in the chat. Yeah, his statement was probably okayed by lawyers. Yeah, but even then, I think it's a little bit of a bad look to go on social media and read verbatim from a phone in your hand. Like, if you're going to do that, I mean, hell, do it like I'm doing this. Like, I'm reading things on the screen, but it's not separate. My eyes are not separated. My whole demeanor is not focused and distracted on this secondary thing. I'm focused on the thing at hand, right? And I think if he was able to just read from like below a camera on a computer screen, read into his audience, like it'd be way better. And DNL Mentor says, who uses 3x5 cards besides Biden? No, Biden uses a screen. He uses a teleprompter. And he can't even get that right. He can't even get a teleprompter right. So, but Tim Ballard, I think, is smart enough to figure some of these things out. But then again, he's a Mormon, so I don't know. I mean, again, nothing against the other Mormons out there. I grew up in Independence, Missouri, and there are a whole lot of Community of Christ members who used to be part of the Latter-day Saints Church. And again, I have personal opinion of Mormonism that may be different than other folks. It's nothing against Mormons individually. It's just I've had some conversations, folks, and I've had some personal encounters that left a bad taste in my mouth, and I try not to judge everyone based on that anyway. So let's hear what Ballard has to say.
Now, it's been alleged that an unnamed LDS church spokesperson issued a statement about me through a tabloid that is often hostile to people of faith.
A tabloid.
Further, my church has not
He's talking about
publicly
Vice.
verified its authenticity. We are also highly suspicious about the timing of such a statement, given its close proximity to Mitt Romney's announcement that he is retiring, and my own public comments that I am prayerfully considering running for public office. The LDS Church does not engage in political activity. In any event, nothing will change my core beliefs. If someone within the church did release this statement, I am absolutely confident that the right people will step in and ensure that proper due process is followed as the rules of our church dictate.
Another
my
20
family,
seconds.
and Sphere Fund team will confidently move forward and focus on our mission of saving children from the horrors of sex slavery and remaining fierce defenders of freedom. We invite anyone who shares this passion to please join us. Thank you.
And thank you, Jim. So, I must say, look, I still have yet to see Sound of Freedom. When I went to the theater, when I finally got the courage to go to the theater to see it, I say courage. When I finally had the time to go to the theater and see it, it was no longer playing nearby. And then there was the whole shenanigans where when people were seeing it, theaters were pulling shenanigans like turning off the air conditioning and turning off the audio, stuff like that, leaving the lights on. Crazy things were happening at theaters that were trying to show Sound of Freedom. But, regardless of any of that, anyone who's willing to put their faith where their mouth is and do the hard work to go rescue children, and I still want to see the movie. Don't get me wrong. I still want to see the movie. Deserves at least some bit of respect, and the fact that he's willing to run for United States Senate in the face of things like these allegations, because they always crawl out of the woodwork to dig up dirt on you when you're trying to run for political office. When you've got dirt, when you're the dirty one, right? When you're willing to do the bidding of the New World Order, so to speak, you don't necessarily have those kind of attacks. But when you're over the mark, when you're talking about pedophilia, when you're talking about sex trafficking, when you're talking about so many of the horrors that happen in the world and even in the United States on a daily basis, and you're actually working with people on the ground to do something about that, yeah, running for office is definitely going to put a target on your back. So I'm very sympathetic with Tim in this regard. And again, I don't get into the policies of the Church of the Latter-day Saints. I recognize that they made a statement distancing themselves from Tim here. But he has reaffirmed his commitment to the church. I mean, he's reaffirmed his commitment to be a man of faith. Now, regardless of what you think about religion, I'm not a super religious person. I don't. Organized religion to me is another big business, so to speak. And not all big businesses are bad, but there's definitely motives involved. And so I try to keep myself away from organized religion. I read scripture every once in a while. I try to find interpretation of what's going on. But yeah, when you're over the target, that's when you know, as Alex Jones says all the time, when you're over the target, that's when you're going to take fire. Well, I was supposed to be doing a 2-hour stream, but I've almost run out of things to talk about. What is this Dave Portnoy thing that's trending? I've been seeing a lot of Dave Portnoy. I'm not watching a 12-minute video of Dave Portnoy, though. That's what's going. That's why he's trending. He's trending right now. Dave Portnoy's trending because he posted a 12-minute video about the Washington Post. I can't watch that right now. I may cover that on the Saturday show. Wow. So I guess I'm going to have to eat up some of the last 30 minutes by going against my friend over in the Ricada Law Chat and I will talk about Russell Brand for just a minute. And I'll tie it into this Tim Ballard stuff by saying this. Yes, Tim Ballard's over the target. And at some point in the last few years, perhaps when he signed his deal with Rumble, Russell Brand has pissed the establishment off. And before he signed his deal with Rumble, I did notice he was doing live streams on various social media platforms and kind of talking more about ideas of freedom, talking more about personal responsibility, getting off. So DNO Mentors in the chat says, quick rundown about Dave Portnoy. Washington Post tried to cancel him and he caught them. That's him confronting them. So yes, maybe I will watch that video if this little rant I'm about to give is short enough. So yes, Russell Brand. The timing. It's all about the timing. So again, with the Tim Ballard things, when were these allegations supposedly? When did they occur? When did this photo of him in his underwear allegedly get sent? And does Vice Media have the photo? Again, I don't think it's, yes, there's revenge porn, but they could say whether or not their reporter has seen it, right? And I have yet to see this allegation made. But just like that, this Russell Brand stuff, the timing is everything. It's everything. The statute of limitations for many of these actions have long passed. And when Russell Brand goes on his live stream, he talks about his family. He talks about freedom. He talks about doing good. And he's honest. He's honest that his history as a Hollywood actor addict, sexual deviant. Like, he's like that. That's no longer me. So this idea that 2013 was the most recent, that's almost a decade. That's over a decade ago now, right? The most recent allegation against Russell Brand is over a decade old. The idea that this man couldn't have changed, couldn't be a noble person now, somehow deserves punishment for something that happened 10 years ago. And don't get me wrong, I kind of support some of the things like prosecuting 95-year-old Nazis, just so that our justice system has a record that those people did wrong. So, statute of limitations be damned. If you did wrong, you did wrong. But there's a difference between a legal avenue for justice and a personal avenue for justice. And then there's a third level that's overblown cancel culture, the media just deciding that someone shouldn't have a career, shouldn't exist, shouldn't be in public spaces. And this conversation, this debate about Russell Brand, not just Russell Brand, but about the things that are happening in online spaces right now. There are people who've been friends for years, or, at least friendly, in certain spaces on YouTube that are, having debates and arguments about the meanings of words and such. But the real debate that we need to have is, what should the real punishment be? Let's say Russell Brand is guilty of all of these things. But since then, he has repented. Since then, he's tried to do good things. Let's assume, right, that he hasn't done this. He hasn't stated he was going to do this. But let's do a hypothetical. Let's say it's not Russell Brand. Let's say it's someone named John Perry, right? And if your name is John Perry, this is not about you. This is a pure hypothetical. Let's say someone named John Perry commits a couple of sexual assaults in his 20s, right? In his 30s, he finds God. He gets saved, finds religion, starts working with sex abuse survivors, right? Starts trying to improve the world around him, trying to repent, trying to recognize what he did to his victims and make the world a better place for people who are in that position. Now, I'm not saying Russell Brand has repented and is working with sexual abuse survivors or whatever, but it's possible. I'm just saying, if the man has truly turned a new leaf, the man is truly willing to repent, then what punishment does he deserve? Now, sure, publicize the stories, right? Publicize the stories. Let people know what kind of person he is or was, and let his audience, individual audience members, decide for themselves whether or not they believe he's a new person that has turned over a good new leaf. I believe that's it. That's the extent. Let his audience decide. We're now past the statute of limitations, and definitely there are a lot of feminists out there who want the statute of limitations on rape to just be forever. Like, if you do that, again, we haven't really heard the R word in this. This is more, from what I understand, the allegations against Russell Brand are something involving the removal of a condom, which to me is pretty R wordy, right? It's pretty close to R wordy. You don't have consent for doing that. But one of my questions is, okay, the way the text message about that is written, now there are also questions about the text messages, but assuming the text messages are true, the way the text message is written about that makes me feel that there was a conversation about condoms before that she feels violated about, but that in the moment, it's like in the moment, was she aware that the condom was removed or not? Like that raises a huge question for me. Like, did he do it in front of her where she could see it happening and therefore object, say no, stop him? I don't know. But the way the text messages would kind of assume, like, we talked about this ahead of time, and I don't like the way it went down. Well, that's not talking about it in the moment as things are happening. And this is one of my problems with this whole blurry definitions of consent, where you kind of have to continuously affirm the consent, where you have to continuously determine that your consent is still valid. I guess there's another allegation against Brand where he climbed on a woman's face after she was already naked in his bed, just kind of climbed on her face and stuck a sex organ in her mouth. I don't know. I don't know if that's consent or not. Did she say no? Again, saying no to me is the important distinction between a sexual assault and, you showing up. I don't think everything has to be an affirmative, positive consent. I just don't. I was married. I've been in relationships. I've been in situations where my own partners have not made sure I was consenting, and I really didn't like what was going on. And it was my responsibility to say no, whatever. That's not rape. That's not grape. Sports trending. He did it. What? Oh, the murder. Yeah. Yeah, there's a football player, I guess, been on the run after murdering his mother, or former football player. Sorry. Distractions. So the big question is, what is a rightful punishment for something someone's done 10 to 15 years in the past? I don't know. It's not jail, and I don't think it should be demonetization on their media platforms. I think it should be their audience deciding whether or not they want to continue to listen or not. And if enough people stop listening, then yeah, maybe they can lose some contracts because you're not drawing an audience. But that's a different story than these large organizations like YouTube just deciding that you can't make money anymore. So yeah, that was my rant. Same goes with Tim Ballard. Just people just deciding. No, that's not the end of my rant, because the most important part of both of these stories is that their accusers all remain anonymous. Tim Ballard and Russell Brand. All of their accusers still remain anonymous. In the United States, we should have a right to confront our accuser, not just in a court of law, but in anywhere, in the public square. And the fact that we've not heard any of these people's names, the fact that we, the people who are reading these stories or making decisions about YouTube monetization or the Mormon Church, have not been able to corroborate these stories, or even determine if these men have ever even met these women, I think that's a problem. Now, I'm not accusing Vice News or Newsweek or any of these media organizations of fabricating anything, but being able to, so for example, Justice Kavanaugh, Christine Blasey Ford made a lot of allegations, and there are a lot of people who did not believe her because they were able to go back in her history, figure out that some of the details didn't add up. There were other people from that community who couldn't corroborate her story. These are important things to be able to do when you're trying to cancel someone, when you're trying to end someone's career. The ability to corroborate or at least find evidence that maybe this story isn't 100% truthful is important. Now, the Amber Heard stands out there would be like, well, there's no such thing as a perfect victim. Not everyone has a perfect memory. And remembering every detail of something that happened a long time ago is tough. Well, that's why you don't wait 13 years. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. Now, all right, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and check out this Portnoy stuff. I might skip through this video a little bit.
I've noticed a bunch of people. It seems like you're sending. We have this Pizza Fest happening on Saturday, and you're reaching out to our advertisers, and you're basically sending an email that says to the effect, "Dave's a misogynist, racist. Do you want to defend yourselves advertising at this event?" Right?
He mispronounced misogynist, but we'll let him slide on that.
I'm sorry, what's your name, Dave? I'm sorry, who are you?
I'm the guy you're writing the article about, Dave Portnoy.
Oh, you're Dave Portnoy. Oh, hey, how are you?
Good.
Good. No, I'm not. I haven't said anything like that.
Well, I can read if you want. If you want, I can read what you actually sent. I have it.
Yeah, read, because I sent a bunch of notes, so I want to make sure I know which one.
Okay. We are planning to write about the festival and how some of the sponsors and participants have drawn criticism by seemingly to associate themselves with Dave Portnoy, who has a history of misogynic comments and other problematic behavior. I want to make sure that Blank had a chance to respond to this, since the company is the most prominent of their partners of his festival.
Oh, that's the one I sent to, which was definitely the most pointed of them, because I really did want them to respond, and I was hoping to get something from them.
Do you think that's fair? I totally disagree with the assertions of what you.
Wow. So she just like comes right out and admits, like, yeah, I totally said all those things because I needed a comment.
You said that misogynist and all that stuff. So like it kind of backs people into a corner. So I'm happy to go over anything. I mean, that is pretty pointed. You said you didn't do it. Then I have the exact evidence of you doing it. So
no, I didn't say I didn't do that. I said I did. That was the one that was the most pointed.
Well, no, that what before I provided proof, you said you didn't really remember doing that. And then I read it to you and you're like, oh yeah, I did it that one time. So you did do it. I'm happy to talk about the comments, because to me, it's kind of like torturous interference. Like, we're doing an event. Everyone's happy about the event. I've raised $50 million for small business. I've helped pizza. None of that. It's Dave's misogynic and problematic, and I'm happy to talk about it, because to me, nobody would like if someone's going around sending that email to their sponsors. And again, you're not like questioning. It's almost like a statement of fact. This is what I am.
Yeah. So I do want to talk to you about this. And I just want you to know that the story I'm working on with a colleague. And I want to kind of loop him on this, because we did want to talk to you.
When were you going to reach out?
We were planning on doing it tomorrow morning.
After we dug enough
so you're
dirt.
Gonna write the article and then give me, like, I've had that a bunch. People write a full article and then give me the points after.
We're doing a bunch of reporting, and we wanted to make sure that when we finally did talk to you, we could really kind of present what, or talk about things more fully.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Did you hear that? We want to talk to your sponsors first. But before we talk to you, we wanted to get our ducks in a row. We don't care about having our ducks in a row before we're talking to your financial backers for your event. We don't need to tell them the truth, but we wanted to make sure we had everything correct before we looped you in.
What? Like, it sounds like you have your opinion made of me based on that email. So then how, if you don't have your opinion made of me, how do you say in an intro email, Dave Portnoy has a history of misogenic comments and other problematic behavior? That's how you introduce the email.
Yeah. So look,
Every time he says misogenic, I laugh.
I want to talk to you about this, but
don't you think you should talk to me before sending that email?
What I wanted to do is I wanted to talk to you when we wanted to have some specific questions for you, and so I wanted to kind of have the full idea of what we.
That's not a full idea. Like anybody who's rationally reading that email being sent to an advertiser would have to be like, this is a hit piece and you have your mind made up. Why else would you put? No, you call me in the intro. I'll say it again. Dave Portnoy has a history of misogenic comments and other problematic behavior. You didn't say Dave Portnoy raised $50 million for small business. Dave Portnoy saved thousands of pizza places. You didn't mention. You said it in a way that is putting sponsors on the defensive.
So what I'm worried about.
Okay, so I don't know. Maybe DNL Mentors or somebody in the chat can update me. What's this? Saving thousands of pizza places. The last two things I've seen of Dave Portnoy was him getting in an argument with a pizza shop owner, and then I literally have not seen Dave Portnoy before that since the whole AMC stock, him being called a little bitch by Charles, the Fox News guy.
When we contacted you, I was worried that we would have sort of one shot to talk to you, right? And so what I wanted to do is make everything we were going to.
I'll look it up in another tab.
Before I reached out to you. That's why I was waiting to call you.
Because you wanted to have everything together before you talk to me. I got to be honest, this sounds like something who's going to hit me last second, be like comments and all this negative stuff.
No, this is kind of standard journalistic stuff. Like,
unfortunately, yes. I have been an open book and willing to sit down with anybody at any time. And this all stems, by the way, from a guy who wrote an article that for 13 years has been tweeting negatively about me because he doesn't like me. So half the stuff he talks about didn't even.
Okay, so real quick. So I'm reading now. It appears he's going from city to city with this tour where he invites all the local pizza shops to come to his pizza fests. And yeah, I don't know if that counts as saving thousands of pizza places, but yeah, it's definitely a good thing to see. These food festivals generate a lot of money and a lot of attention for the restaurants who are involved, and props to him. I don't know if it saves every one of them, because definitely, if your pizza sucks and your food sucks and you show up at one of these food events, it just highlights that your food sucks. So anyway, but let's continue the gaslighting here by this Washington Post reporter.
Even exist. The guy doesn't like me, and now you're going to run with this on the Washington Post. And anybody who's listening to this to think you were going to give me a fair chance when you're leading to our sponsors before you talk to me is crazy.
Okay. Can we set up a time to talk tomorrow? Would that be okay? Like, I want to talk to you. I really do. I just want to make sure, like, I've got all my questions ready and stuff to talk to you about. Would that be okay? Can we set up a time?
I want to see the article before you do it.
No, it's not really. We can't.
Why can't you do that? Because all I do is I validate all the stuff you're about to make up against me. I have been hit with the same things over and over, and they're all so
No, we're not going to
wildly
let you
out of
see what we
context.
write about
It's
you. Why would we
insane
do that?
to say at this point in the game, when you've already written to the sponsors, let me say it again. Dave Portnoy has a history of misogenic comments and other problematic behavior. I
Wow,
catch you
Dave.
off guard on a phone call, and now you're like, no, we planned on talking to you tomorrow. Like the Washington Post, which is a wildly left-leaning publication, you have...
Wait, wildly left-leaning? Okay, if you say so. I think the left would disagree. The left would think that the Washington Post has some right-leaning, and I personally think clickbaity. Like, so there's right-leaning stuff, there's some left-leaning stuff, uniparty type shit, like globalist bullshit. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's like freedom right. I think it's neocon. But there's some freedom right stuff, and then there's the clickbaity fucking drama, this kind of shit.
Things you've said, you hate Trump,
I mean, after all, wasn't it the Post who initially reported on the Hunter Biden shit? So I don't think the left wing would think that they're left wing.
hate Elon. Not that I'm those people. To think you're going to give me a fair shake. I wasn't born yesterday.
I mean, I wanted to talk to you, and as part of my reporting, like we haven't written this story, we won't have written it by the time we talk to you. Like this is talking to you. I would hope is going to be a big part of our reporting and a big part of the story. So I'm really.
It better be the biggest. It should be the biggest.
If we're gonna, anything specific we're gonna include in the story, but I just don't have it all in front of me because I'm working with another reporter, and I want to make sure that we.
Oh, so it's a joint effort. They got two reporters.
What was the thesis of this article you're writing?
I don't work with theses. I'm just reporting. It's just, it's just you're an interesting guy.
But you have a theme,
and we just want to look at it. That's all.
It seemed like you were going to try to shame sponsors for being associated with me and put them in a box when I know they all love me, but nobody wants the Washington Post writing an article, sponsor associated with misogenic, racist piece of shit. Nobody wants that. That's what you're trying to do. And even on this call, it's pretty clear that's what you were trying to do. You don't have the facts for me.
What I've said on this call that would give you that impression. All I've said on this call.
Well, we started the call. We started the call with you saying you never said anything negative, and then I read back an email like, "Oh, I did on that one."
I said that I sent a number of emails, and that one was the most pointed because I was really trying to press them to respond. But I really, and what I've been asking people about, I'm just asking people what they're doing. I'm just asking people about, how they came to.
And now he's asking you, what are you doing? And
Now,
you're dodging the question.
Just as easily said, what's your involvement? Are you proud to be involved with somebody who has done so much for the pizza and service industry, right? That could have been an email.
Can we set up a time?
Thank you, DNL Mentors, for I was going to skip this because it was so long, but this is so good because I have had interactions with local media that have kind of went like this, and it frustrates me so much. It frustrates me so much when I talk to normies who are like, "Oh, no, the news wouldn't lie." Dude, you have no idea how fucking swayed they are.
Tomorrow to talk. I mean, really, I want to get into all of it.
Well, I don't know if I trust you yet. So I'd want more. I want to see everything that you've been asking these people. Like, again, I don't think there's generally why I don't do this at the last minute is because if you really wanted to get my perspective, it wouldn't be me calling you. You would have already reached out to me in a fair manner. Hey, sorry about that. I got it like a call that came in the middle of it.
Oh, no worries. Okay. No, I was just saying, I was going to call you. I really wanted to talk with you. I want to have a really full conversation. That's why. So what time?
I'm more than willing to have an open conversation.
But you're talking to his sponsors and not having a full conversation. You're sending emails with slanderous type statement. I don't want to say slander because that's a crime, but negative statements is what he said. You're sending emails with negative statements about the man. Have a full conversation about that.
Conversation about anything if the article is not written. I'm afraid with what I'm seeing already here, all it does is it validates.
Okay, we got a little over 2.5 minutes, almost 3 minutes left. Are we going to hear? I doubt it. Were we going to hear these allegedly misogynistic and bigoted statements? I mean, I'm sure all we have to do is Google Dave Portnoy and we'll probably find some of them, but come on.
It's a hit piece.
I swear, I have not written the story. Believe me.
Have you made your mind up about me?
We're in the reporting phase. I don't, I can't. Not for me to say, and I'm working with somebody else.
But that seems like a pretty straightforward question. That have you made your mind up about me? If you can't answer that, no.
I can say I have not made my mind up about you.
Then why would you include that in the email to sponsors?
Because I was hoping for a dialogue with them.
Oh, yeah. This is Washington Post, not the New York Post. I was thinking of the New York Post. Yes. Washington Post is far leftist. My bad. My bad. Yes. Thank you, Complete Random in Nick Ricada's chat. Thank you for correcting me on that. I don't know why my brain was thinking New York Post again. I'm a little foggy tonight. I will make that correction. New York Post. I was thinking New York Post the whole damn time. No, this is Washington Post, right?
Sometimes you have to say something like, this is like, it's sort of a reporting tactic. When you want someone to respond, you kind of have to indicate that there might be something negative, and then you get them to engage. That's all I was trying to do. I really wanted them to engage with me.
That is a sad state of journalism. If that's a tactic that you have to, what I would say is make up something about somebody.
That there might be something negative, and so you want to give people a chance to respond and have a conversation with you. That's what I was trying to do.
But at the same time, you're saying you don't know that that's actually truth. So you're leading with something that you haven't done enough research to know if it's valid.
I'm saying there might be a fuller picture, and that's what I want to talk to you about. And I want to set up a time tomorrow morning, maybe like 10. Are you free at 10?
I got to do more research on you. I still don't have the vibe that you're going to give me any sort of.
Well, she's gonna write the article anyway. At least you can do is talk to her and tell her that she's fucking wrong.
You want to look into me? You want to look. My colleague that I'm working with on the story, his name is Tim Carmen.
Tim
He's
Carmen,
also a food reporter at the Post.
Tim Carmen, food reporter.
Both of us to be on the call and just we can talk. I'm happy to I would definitely want some on the record stuff, but if there's stuff you want to tell me that you want to tell me on background or off the record, we can talk about all.
No, I'm always on the record. There's nothing I would ever say that is off the record.
He doesn't appear to be writing things that are slanted.
Okay, so maybe you want to say tentatively 10 o'clock tomorrow?
Yes, I'll confirm tentatively. Now, the one thing I'd always ask, just like this is being recorded, I would record the interview tomorrow.
I didn't have a chance to hit record, so I'm not recording this call, but I get that you are. That's totally fine. I always anticipate that what I'm saying is going to be recorded or be used. I get that.
Okay, so that is a good step in establishing some degree of trust. So if you're fine with me recording tomorrow, then let's do.
So what I'm getting the vibe of, okay, so she's writing this piece, and it's kind of like the thing I shared earlier from CNN where it's talking about COVID and this and that, and then there's here these other links about current COVID news. It sounds to me like they weren't just going to do one report on this. They were going to do like 2 or 3 and do the thing where they link each other's articles halfway through, and there was probably going to be some headline like misogynist holds pizza festival, and then they were going to review the pizza places, in the other article, and then link back and forth to each other.
10 a.m. tomorrow.
Okay. Do you want to call me on this number?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. Okay, great.
All right.
All right. We'll talk tomorrow at 10.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks, Dave.
Bye.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't know why I was thinking New York Post. It's weird. But, yeah, definitely, if you're called by a news agency or you find out a news agency is doing a report on you or something you're a part of, do this. Call them and record it. Now, granted, there are lots of 2-party states where both parties have to be consenting to the recording. If you're in one of those states, don't do that. But or announce that you're recording and give them the opportunity to hang up. But Yeah, I don't trust reporters. I don't trust the media. And good on Dave Portnoy for recording this, for putting it out on X, and you know, fighting back against smear tactics. I don't love Dave Portnoy. I don't think he's an awesome person, but he definitely did the right thing this time. And, cheers to him. Good on him for doing that. Anyway, so we're coming down to the last couple minutes. And I'm going to do what I always do during the last couple minutes. And I'm going to ask you folks, if you haven't clicked that like button on Rumble, on YouTube, on Twitter, please click that like button, or X rather. X, I keep forgetting. Twitter, it's Twitter. His mama named him Twitter. I'm going to call him Twitter. If you haven't clicked that like button on Twitter, Rumble, or YouTube, please do that. If you've enjoyed this content, please share it. The sharing things, especially sharing across platforms, sharing the Rumble link on Twitter, sharing the Twitter link on Facebook or whatever, really helps a lot to get more eyeballs. A lot of these social media platforms weigh these things differently if they're clicking through from other websites. So yeah, click that follow button if you haven't. You'll definitely get access to my future live streams. If you do that, you'll know when I'm going live. If you're on YouTube, click that notification bell. Definitely those phone notifications definitely help drive traffic. That will let you know when you can come in the chat, and when you can come in the chat, say hello and get a toast. The next time I'm doing a whiskey toast here, which would probably be this Saturday, 6 p.m. Central, right here on www.rumble.com/mild/live, or on youtube.com @themildworld, and on Twitter @themildworld. All those links should be down in the description. So feel free to find me on any of those platforms or on Facebook. And I always try to announce when I'm getting ready to go live within the next hour or two. And if I'm not going live when I usually would go live, which is 6 p.m. Central, Wednesdays and Saturdays, I will try to announce there if there are any disruptions to my normal schedule. So you can find that there as well on any of those social media platforms. So yeah, following me is the best way to know when I'm going to be live again. Yeah, so do it. Follow me on social media. Follow me and then help me spread the word. In the meantime, and in between time, I want you all to have a wonderful week. Enjoy your Thursday and Friday. Have a laid back couple of days, and outlast the haters. Don't get any on you. And if you do, rub that shit in real good. Take care of yourselves and each other. I got it all backwards. See, I take a little trip, I come back, and everything's out of sorts. Anyway, thanks a lot for stopping by. Cheers, everybody. Peace. Oh, there it is.